Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, lesser known classic. This is episode number 2968, Doubleshot number 2862. So, with this one, we're discussing a Green Lantern Corps trade. But not of the last 20 years. Oh no. From the very first volume. Now, I've already discussed issues 201 and 206 already in Tales of Green Lantern Volume 3. This is the Green Lantern Corps, Volume 1, Beware Their Power, which contains, from Green Lantern Corps Volume 1, issues 207 to 213, and Green Lantern Corps Annuals 2 and 3. Yep, we have Steve Eckhart on the writing here. That is your main writer, with Alan Moore, Mindy Newell, Paul Kupperberg, Mike Carlin, Kurt Busiek, Richard Browning, Joe Cabrelli, and John Byrne. Those of you going to ask me, have any of these writers? Nope. Artists. We have Joe Stanton, Mark Farmer, Ian Gibson, Bill Willingham. You're thinking, wait a minute, you mean the guy behind Fables? Yep, he worked in this book. Terry Austin, Jose Garcia-Lopez, Joe Rubinson, George Freeman, Paris Collins, P.K. Russell, Trevor Von Eden, Kevin O'Neill, Kevin Newland, George Brooks, Bruce Patterson, John Byrne, and Kurt Soppberger. The artist, I've actually met two of these artists on this book, Jose Luis Garcia-Lopez and Trevor Von Eden. Yep. The cover itself was done by Ed Hannigan, Joe Stanton, and Drew Moore. There's a story involving Joe Stanton where he was the artist for Guy Gardner, the Guy Gardner book, and when Chuck Dixon, he wanted to do the book because when he was off book, he wanted to do with Joe Stanton, and then Joe was moving the book with no explanation, and then he decided to tell the editor, like, well, you basically got rid of the reason why I want to be on this book, so have this other guy, and he'll take over the book for the rest of the series. Because I'm done. Because I don't want to do this book anymore. So, the annual is technically called Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. Yeah, I think like the first annual was published at some point. Now, this is on my Eckhart with Bill Willingham on the artwork. This first story is all about Sinestro. And it's like him, and of course you have this mercenary story. That's the first story for him. The second story is about this this mercenary who just happens to work with the Green Lantern Corps. That's the second story in this book. Then we have Old Man Atlantis, Paul Kupperberg's story, which is quite interesting what it is. But when we get to the main issues themselves, Alan Moore does a story in this book, which is I think the second Green Lantern story ever done I can think of, because the first story I ever did was the debut of Mogo, in the story known as Mogo Doesn't Socialize. Yeah, this story is mostly about Abin Sur. Yes, the man who basically was the predecessor to Hal Jordan as a Green Lantern for his ring, and also Sinestro's brother-in-law because Sinestro married his sister. And also a man who's been dead since his debut back in Showcase number 22, who has mostly been seen in flashbacks since then, or some time travel stuff. He's never been present because he's been dead for years. So, it's a story involving him. There's an image of Hal Jordan's weird style artwork here. And then move on to the main book as main book itself, where the first issue is a part of the crossover with Legends. Now, a lot of this book is kind of weird. You have Basic Killaby India by his duel with Black Hand. You have Arissa starting a relationship with Hal Jordan, despite the fact she's like 12-ish. At one point, Kara Ferris finds out about the relationship, so she proceeds to kidnap Arissa to have her lick her boots. And kiss her boots. Yes, Steve Eckhart made Kara Ferris evil. Also, John Stewart marries this woman here, who later gets killed off in I think his name is Kamaton, I think her name is. She's an alien woman who actually was Believe it or not, Jon Stewart's trainer. Yep, he marries her, and of course they stay married for a long time. They married for the rest of this book, and she got killed, like I mentioned, in Action Comics 101. 601, excuse me. Well, first he's speaking quarterly, so... you have Guy here with Chip and a bunch of Green Lanterns. But a lot of this basically, it's like dealing with people from Hal's past. The Guardians are gone this period of time. Yes, in this series, there are no Guardians. And then we have issue 2, which was the cover of this very book, where, of course, they go to Russia. They with a Red Lantern. No, not the Red Lanterns that John Stewart created. The whole thing of the Red Lantern thing, that is basically deals with a Russian Green Lantern. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they also deal with Red Star. Yep. He makes guest appearance a lot with the Red Rocket. Except it's not the Red Rocket from the JLI book. No, it's a complete different Red Rocket because it shows up his face. Red Rocket, normally the guy who we normally see in the JLI book, usually has a full helmet. Not this guy here. This may have been an early Red Rocket. So, the whole thing with the Russian thing in this book, that's dealt with for a few issues in here. Yeah. I mean, where does it stop? It starts 208. I think it wraps up here with 210 with this whole Russian expedition thing they do in this book. Yeah, I think 210 wraps up. And then you have story in Tula about pink elephants. Yes. Which, of course, the Lanterns are back in America. There is appearance here about this white-skinned woman. Chalk white-skinned. I don't remember who this woman is. Probably some random guest star. Of course, they continue a relation between Hal and Alyssa. Which, of course, basically, like... one of their alien buddies basically is like spy on them. Is like, yeah. And then of course then we have the wedding proposal of these two. Kai lady, yeah. Basically, John poses to her in this very issue in 211, and then I think like the very next issue they get married. Yep, and then, of course, we also see the return of Hector Hammond in these issues. And he's working with Carol Ferris. And for some reason, the artist at one point made Carol's thighs a little big. I'm not sure why. And then, yeah, and basically, 212, basically, Jon Stewart gets married. And, of course, his new wife meets his grandma. Actually, I think it's his mom. I think his father, too. Yeah. I think it's nice the fact that she got a chance to meet John's family. And then you have Carol basically working with Hector Hammond. Which Jet Johns later retconned the fact that apparently Hector Hammond knew Hal before becoming Green Lantern. Where apparently he had a thing for Carol. And they also put this in the Green Lantern live action movie where Hector Hammond had a thing for her. Also, Hector... If you're curious, though, in the movie, he can speak normally despite his big head. In the comics, no, it's impossible. He cannot speak at all. He is confined to his chair. He only can speak with telepathy. He is that smart. Yeah, and Carol gets jealous of Alyssa for daring to sleep with her man. Yeah. And then at one point, this is kind of weird for her, right in front of Hector Hammond, who can't do anything, she proceeds to strip butt naked in front of him. Takes off her hat and her outfit, and he's sweating like, oh my god, this hot lady is like stripping in front of me. And then, of course, they censor her by using her long hair. Yes, the artist Joe Stanton made her hair really long. Long enough, basically, to go down to her frickin' ankles. And of course, then 213, this is the issue where Carol makes Alyssa her slave. Oh yeah, and by the way, the very next issue, she's got her clothes back on. Yep. Then here's the question: what was the point of her stooping in front of Hector if she's not going to be butt naked for very long? Yep. So yeah, then she kidnaps, like, lick it clean the floor because she's brainwashing her, and then just kiss her boot. And they have this this up camera shot. I thought it was like highest big, no, it's basically normal. And of course, maybe it looks like Joe Stan made her very muscular. Yes. There's something with Chip here. He's the talking squirrel. And I'm like, okay, then Hal shows up again, frees her, and of course he has to fight his own first love. Yes. Now here's the thing about that I have mentioned frequently about the whole thing with Carol and Hal, where writers have actually wanted these two to get married, but for some reason, I'm not sure why this is. It must have been a long time editorial mandate that apparently Hal cannot marry Carol. Even though Jeff Johns set up in his final issue that, yeah, there's a future where these two get married. And then they broke up, then she was with Kyle for a while, then she broke up with him, and now apparently she's back with Hal. And of course she's free from her mind control from Kara Ferris, aka the Star Sapphire. Then Chip, of course, basically deals with like Enola Quinn, and then we have the alien one who's the weird one with big head. Yeah, this whole issue, I think this is 214. It's his time for romance. Of course, it's all focused on these two particular, Chip and the other guy. And then the last issue, basically, his name is Selleck. Yeah, so they continue that romance in the very next issue. And that's pretty much it here. Oh, but that's it for many issues. There's still another annual. Which, of course, basically, this has the other stories in here. More tales. We have In Blackest Night, where it focuses on, basically, the woman becomes John Stewart's future wife. The opening story focuses on her, and the story ends with her basically sunbathing, topless, with just the bottom. And then we have a story called Guardian Angel, with this other Green Lantern who's bald with this W on his forehead. Yeah, weird guy. And then we have this worship-ish story here done by Kurt Busiek, of all people, who's a good writer, by the way. Which I think this may have been his only Green Lantern story I could think of he ever wrote, because he doesn't normally write Green Lantern stories. Normally he writes group stories. Stuff like JLA, and he's also done Avengers. He had a very lengthy run of Avengers, lasting for almost 5 years, which was an amazing run, by the way. Of course, people also know him for Astro City and The Marvels. Yep. That's what else he's known for. And I did ask Jim Shooter about this, about there was a story I read in a Marvel behind the scenes book where a fan suggested John Byrne the very retcon that happened that led her into Jean Grey, and according to rumor, the fan was Kurt Busiek. According to Jim Shooter, that mostly is true, but he didn't confirm it was Kurt Busiek. They apparently had planned to bring her back anyways, and so he partially confirmed the story. It wasn't like I heard it from some online source. I read a book. Yes, a book of behind the scenes of Marvel. And he didn't seem upset with me about that. No, because it's a book. He didn't say it wasn't true. From what I can tell, what he explained it to me is that it was partially true. Yes. So, it's more stuff with Green Lantern this annual. And then we have pinups of the Guardians, Count Mattel, who becomes John Stewart's wife, Kilowog, Sonic, and that's it. Great book. Give this book a 9 out of 10. Now, we're not done with Green Lantern Corps Volume 1. We have roughly 9 more issues left to go for this book. And that's it. Yeah. That's basically it. Now, next up we have is DC Comic Presents. Showcase presents DC Comics presents Superman Team Ups, Volume 2, which contain issues 27 to 50, along with the very first annual for the series. Now, I'm also going to be discussing the backup stories, which were not published in the trade. Now, I've discussed some of these issues already in other books. Now, basically for 27 to 31, I'm going to let my notes about this. 27 to 31, I had discussed already the A stories for these issues, but not the B stories. 27 is the extra story. It's a short story in here. Whatever happened to Con Gorilla? It just explains what happened to Con Gorilla. It is a backup story. It is written by Bob Ruskins. Yes, Bob Ruskins does the writing here. It explains what exactly happened to him after his story wrapped up. Yeah, that's all this is. Has artwork. I don't mind the artwork. It's just a little adventure for him battling a gorilla, and then the very next issue, we have the return of Johnny Thunder. Well, Lawman Johnny Thunder. Now you're probably thinking, like, who the heck is Johnny Thunder? The Lawman one. Well, for one thing, it's not basically the guy who became host of the, Now you're probably thinking, who is Johnny Thunder Lawman? Which, of course, his horse is called Black Lightning. He is a Western character who made his debut in All-American Comics number 100. He is a Rob Kanigher creation. Yes, Robert Kanigher created this character back in 1948. You're like, really? He wrote this story? In the 40s? Yeah, he did. And he had a horse named Black Lightning. So apparently this book is like, what happened to the horse? Oh, he got married. And he basically just settled down. His wife is Madam 44. Yep, that's who he married. And he had 2 kids. Charles and Rebecca Tane, who debuted in this story. Yep. And this story is done by Mike Trebecker. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. With Gail Kane in the artwork. Those of you curious, he worked in other books? Well, he mostly worked on issues 32, 33, 35, 37 of DC Comics Presents. I think he did work on the Ford from... Oh, yeah, that's 35. So, he basically was working New Talent Showcase, and that was pretty much it for him. 29 features a backup story is Whatever Happened to Dr. Midnight? Now, you're probably thinking, JSA character must be Roy Thomas. No, but it's Bob Rushkin with Alex Sebek on the artwork. It's basically kind of what happened to him after his story wrapped up. Also, for some reason, this book was... Yeah, these features not collected in trade for some reason. Don't know why, but they're not. 30 has a backup feature of basically happened to Al Pritt. It's basically... I think Mary Pritt, I think it's his wife. Yes. I think he just got married. Yeah, like in the case of Johnny Thunder, he got married. I think he eventually just got married. That's probably what happened with him. By the way, the person who was Bob Rushkins once again. And then we have issue 31, which discussed already in the, I think it was like a Showcase Presents Robin. No, it was Legends of the Dark Knight, Jose Garcia-Lopez. Yeah, basically, the sad thing about this issue is we have the apparent death of the character Chuck Grayson. He was the assistant to Robot Man. No, not Cliff Steele. No, this is the original Man. This is a guy by the name of Robert Crane. Yeah, he's a creation of Jerry Siegel. You think, wait, that name sounds familiar. Didn't he create a very famous superhero for DC Comics? He did. Superman. He also created the Spectre. Yep. This story is mostly put exactly Return of the Robot Man over 20 years of childhood Mineshaft. And this issue was written by, once again, Bob Ruskins and Alex Sivick. Moving on to issue 32. Now, there is some issues we're skipping over in here. And those issues are, I am skipping over issue 34, 33, 34, and 49. Skipping over these issues mainly because basically I've discussed these already. 32 is basically a story featuring Wonder Woman, where the opening story is written by Jerry Conway and Roy Thomas with Kurt Sutberger in the artwork, with basically it's Eros, which apparently this is the first full appearance of Eros. Who is Eros? The god of love, otherwise known as Cupid. And the whole thing is trying to have the god of love have Superman and Wonder Woman fall for each other, despite the fact they have their own significant love interest. And then we have Whatever Happened to Mark Merlin and Prince Rawman, written by Mark Tubberger and Alex Sivick. Those are thinking, who the heck is Prince Rawman? Apparently a son of Ra. He apparently is a creation of Bob Haney. Made his debut in House of Secrets number 73. Yes. Believe it or not, he is an acquaintance of... Well, the whole thing with him is that he first appeared in a story that also featured Eclipso. It just what lures his fate afterwards. Now, skipping straight to 35, because I've already discussed 34 in another review. This one, the opening story, Superman teams Man-Bat take on the Atomic Skull, the original Atomic Skull, Albert Michaels. Not the second one. Oh no, not the second one. This is the original one. And his organization, Skull, which, yeah, it just basically is its own crime organization. But really cool group. I like the whole idea of, like, you have a supervillain design group, and then we have the backup story is Whatever Happened to Rex the Wonder Dog. Same right before. Okay, it's a character associated with Detective Chimp. Excuse me. That's mostly put exactly what this character is. He's a character who's a dog who's associated with Detective Chimp. That's literally what he's here for. It's nice we have Man-Bat. Those of you curious, was Man-Bat started printed in, like, Batman Man-Bat? Nope. Not printed there. Only printed just in the showcase book. Yeah. Oh, and here's the thing. Apparently, Rex the Wonder Dog and Detective last appeared in Adventures of Wonder Dog number 46. Yes. They last appeared in 1949. That was the last time these two appeared, and then they've returned to this very book. So, Rex the Wonder Dog next appears in, get this, Green Lantern Volume 3, number 30. Yes, he brought back the dog for this very story. Oh yeah, Martin Priest and Kurt Swan in the artwork in this one. Next one, 36. So by Jim Starr and Paul Levitt. This is basically Superman teaming up with the Prince Gavin Starman, a character who's a creation of Paul Levitt's and the late Steve Ditko. Yeah, really cool character he is. It's basically them teaming to take out a freaking Mongol in this really good action-packed story. And then we have issue 37, where we have Superman team with Hawkgirl, where it's written and drawn by Jim Starr with co-writing duties by Roy Thomas. And then we have another Whatever Happened to Rip Hunter. It is basically Return to Rip Hunter. in this story here. Yeah, it's a one-off return for him for the Earth 1 version of the character. Because I think the last time he appeared is probably the end of his solo book. Oh no, I think he previously appeared in Challengers of the Unknown. He appeared there for 3 issues, and then I think he appeared in that book next. I think so. Mm-hmm. And he also returned with his old friends, the Tide Masters, with his really fun story involving Ferris aircraft and going to a past version of Maryland in the 48th century. In the future. Yep, going to the future this one. In issue 38, we have Superman team up with the Flash to take on alien invaders. The backup story features the return of the Crimson Avenger and him wearing an outfit I'm not really the biggest fan of. Yes, I like the outfit with the trench coat and the guns. They kind of makes him like a ripoff of like the Shadow. But for some reason they went with this outfit for him. Yes, this you look at this outfit like, wait, that's the Crimson Avenger, Lee Travis? Yep, that's him. And this is a story that happened to him after his last appearance. Not a fan of this look for him. It's like, it literally looks here. He looks like a ripoff of like Captain Comet. Yeah, it's basically this issue here kind of would kill the character off. Yeah, he comes back to this story here. Okay, so his new costume is well, this is a Flash from Jelly 37. So, yeah, he died of disease, so he just dies in this issue. So it's apparently he's similar to Green Hornet. I think he's more similar to the Shadow. But I think Crimson Avenger is a cool character. Just not a fan of this costume. Moving on to issue 39, where we have a team up with Superman and Plastic Man to take on the Toy Man. And also National Investigations in here. Yep. Richard Dragon, a.k.a. the character created by the late Denny O'Neil, which for some reason he didn't write the story. Nope. You would think Denny O'Neil was working for... I think he was working for them at this point in time. I'm surprised they didn't actually write this issue. Just basically what happened to Richard Dragon. Covered written by Mike Barr. Issue 40. He teams up with frickin' Metamorpho for an issue to take on Java from his... And this issue was written by Jerry Conway, with Aaron Nemec on the artwork. Interesting. Well, then we have backup story. Whatever happened to Airwave? Okay, those of you curious, who the heck is Airwave? He's a guy who basically gets power from radio waves. And this issue here has death of the original Airwave, who is... Oh, you're going to love this. The original Airwave is Hal Jordan's uncle. Yes, the Green Lantern. And that means his son is Hal Jordan's cousin. His son's name is Harold Jordan. Harold or Hal Jordan. Yeah, they're not exactly very known characters per se. But this issue here also had his wife briefly became Airwave, who also died in the very same issue. But who wrote this issue? Bob Ruskins. Yes, so here's the weird thing about this. Hal has only met his cousin maybe once in comics. It's like DC never dealt with the fact that Hal Jordan is a second generation superhero. Yeah, people forget that. He is one. Then we have, get this, issue 40, we have Superman team up with the Joker to take on the Prankster in the final appearance of the Silver Age version of the character, No, he didn't die. This was his last time period. Written by Martin Perisco with art by Jose Luis Garcia-Lopez. The backup story is, well, it's... The best way to describe the backup story here is that it's a preview of what happens in Wonder Woman 288. Which, of course, was written by Roy Thomas and Gene Colan. Fun fact, Gene Colan actually designed Wonder Woman, you know that big W that she's known for wearing? Gene Colan designed that logo. Yep. 42, you have basically Superman team up with the Unknown Soldier for an issue. Yep, a story written by Paul Levitz. Not a bad choice. I kind of would have thought Robert Kanigher would do this issue, but okay. With the art network and the artwork, you have a story involving the Sandman. Whatever happened to him? Which, of course, basically it's like, okay, it's just like him got back into fray, and really fun story related to Sandman. And it's actually a two-part story, continues in the very next issue. What happened to Santa the Golden Boy, his sidekick? Yes, and the opening story, which of course we're going to continue the next issue, but this issue in particular, was it collected anyways? Besides this book? Well, it's basically the whole thing, this issue here with issue number 43. It's by Paul Levitz and Kurt Swan doing the artwork. It is basically Superman and the Legion of Superheroes take on Mongol. And they have flashbacks to the death of the character of Arrowlad, whose real name is Andrew Nolan. I highly doubt it's related to Graham Nolan, but basically he was only around for like a year in comics before he died. But yeah, we also have the destruction of the Sun Eater. Well, one of many ways. Yeah, it's a creature who later pops up and stuff related to All-Star Superman. Great issue. Now, issue 44. He teams up with Dial H for Hero for an issue to take on someone called Master and Beast Maniac. It's like, the best way to describe this book was written by Bob Rushkins. This story in particular is, how should I put this? It is basically Superman guest starring in a story for Dial H for Hero. That's kind of what this book is, but... And then the very next issue, Superman teams with Firestorm. Yes, this is where my Jerry Conway wrote this issue, where a team will take on Crisscross, who is a one-shot character, who is assistant to Martin Stein. So, like in the case previous issue, this one also feels like this feels like basically a Firestorm story, just happens to guest star Superman. Like, okay, is there issues coming about the skip? Because it's discussed already. Soon, but not the next issue. Nope. Issue 46 basically teams up with the Global Guardians, which of course first appearance to characters, and here two of the characters later became members of the JLI. You have the first appearance in here of Dr. Mist, Green Fury, Jack-O-Lantern, Little Mermaid, Olympian, Rising Sun, and Seraph. Now, Dr. Mist, yeah, he's a not very well-known character per se, but yeah, there was one point they brought the group back and they thought this was dead Dr. Mist, but nope, it was imposter. Green Fury, this is Fire. Yes. Bia Corteza. Yep. Now, who is Jack Lantern, might ask? That is a minor character. I kill him in Primal Force. Little Mermaid. It is not the very known character. She's from Denmark. This is basically her debut appearance. And she didn't really appear very much at all. Not really. Olympian. Yeah, this is a character who I think they even brought into the New 52 relaunch of their JLI. Yeah, he's a character who's brought him somewhat. And they also have Rising Sun, who is a Japanese superhero who basically often Final Crisis Aftermath Dance number 4. The whole thing, Global Guardians, they were the predecessor to the JLI. Basically, international team. There's also Seraph, who is a Jewish character from Israel. And this issue was, and they basically to take on El Dorado. Well, a villain in El Dorado because I believe there's some characters called El Dorado. Yes, it's just some Mexican superhero thing. So, was this you could be like a backdoor pilot to a book related to him? Not really. So, and then we have 42. We do have return of the Whatever Happened to feature. Feature happened to Sandy the Golden Boy. But the cool thing about this story here is that I think for the longest time DC couldn't legally collect this issue. It's written by Paul Kupperberg. It was because he wrote it. It's because it was Superman teamed up with the story. Who did his team up? He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. In this action-packed issue where a team take on Skeletor. Yeah, this book is awesome. Yes. And this book was collected in one of the He-Man trades. Yep. It was in DC versus Masters of the Universe. Yeah, they collected in that weird miniseries, but it's excellent. I love this issue. Beastman, Skeletor. Like, it's a shame DC isn't published because they publish really good He-Man books. And then we have, next issue, 48. We have Superman team up with Aquaman, which is written by Dan Miskin and Gary Cohn. Iron Network, and now we're going to take on some alien octopus. Okay. The backup story features the return of the Black Pirate. The Black Pirate is a character who debuted in X-Files back in the 40s. He was created by Sheldon Mordorf, who I think was the guy who worked with... I think he worked with Bob Kane. Yes. He's not that known of a character per se. His wife was a woman named Donna Bonnet, he also has a son. She also has a son, who also became Black Pirate. And there's also the most recent version of the character who debuted in Batman Return of Bruce Wayne. He only appeared for one issue. Yeah, he's a fun character. Now, skip over 49 because of discussing. We're next discussing issue 50 of this very series. This team up between Superman and Clark Kent, so he's like Superman team himself. They take on the Atomic Skull, and it's written by Dan Musick and Gary Cohn and Kurt Swan the artwork. Excellent issues, but we're not done just yet. We have one more book to discuss here, and that being the very first annual for Superman DC Comics Presents. We have Superman team up with the Golden Age version of the character, and the whole point of this issue here is by Mark Hope and Rich Buckler. The whole point of this issue, it's basically set up for Crisis Infinite Earth, which happens 3 years after this. Yes. It's basically Superman team with Golden Age Superman and Earth 3 Lex Luthor take on Earth 1, Earth 2 Lex Luthor, and Ultraman. Yes. Really good annual. Yep. But I love... Apparently that this book here was also the last appearance of Earth 2. Lex Luthor before he gets killed off by Brainiac during Crisis of Infinite Earths. Which is interesting. But yeah. Love Showcase presents DC Comics. Showcase presents DC Comics presents Superman Team-Ups Volume 2. Yes, I did discuss on the backup stories. I did skip some stories in here because discussed already. Like in the case 2731, I kind of discussed these already in their videos. 33, I had discussed this one. I think it was in like Superman versus Shazam. That's the main reason. Oh, I forgot to mention the Starhawk story. I think this one in particular. Let's see. Oh yeah, Star Hawkins. I almost forgot to talk about him. Star Hawkins. He is a character who debuted in Strange Adventures, created by John Broome, one of the co-creators of The Flash, and Mike Sawalski. Yeah, he's just a private eye character that DC decided to bring back for this feature. Prominent character in Strange Adventures, which is a sci-fi book, and he's a private eye. It's a shame DC has not collected his stories yet. Is it terrible? No, not really. He also has a robot secretary named Ida. Oh yeah, and the thing is, why is he in the book? Because basically Starhawk is using a private eye. He's from the future. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it, particular view. By the way, I give basically this book a 10 out of 10. It was really good. So that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not dislike button. Well, let me check one thing here before I close out here. Looks like that's not coming out today. Oh! They released episode 9. So, okay. So I think I'll watch the next time. Watch Bleach. Okay? Next video. Bye.